All right, welcome to Master Muse, Ciara Lawless. I am so excited to have you here today. How are we feeling today?
I'm feeling really good. I'm excited. It's Patrick's Day weekend for us here in Ireland, so we're all getting ready for the parade on Monday and stuff. So it's exciting. There's a lot of excitement around.
Nice. Okay, and where are you in Ireland right now?
I'm in the west of Ireland in County Galway.
Yes, I was looking at the map today. I was trying to figure out where you grew up. Did you grow up in Athlone?
Correct. Yeah. So that's that's centred in the Midlands of Ireland. So I kind of,
Right.
luckily enough, I'm in between three counties. So I had a lot of, I guess it was great fun growing up, going in between Westmeath and Roscommon and Galway. My mum has a flower store in County Galway in Ballinasloe. So kind of growing up with her as well, I was always around there. So I think my accent has kind of morphed to mix in between all those areas, Roscommon, Galway, Westmeath.
I love it. I love an accent. I know Americans are suckers for it. It's always something that we love to talk about. Okay, so when you were growing up, you said your mom was a florist, or she is still a florist?
She is still a florist. Yes, I'm currently actually in in her flower store right now. So I was very lucky. I kind of grew up in that like nature environment, always surrounded by flowers and plants. And my dad was a farmer as well, so grew up on a farm. And I guess they gave me such a strong appreciation for nature, and I feel like it's influenced my music a lot as well when I'm writing.
Okay, so tell me how you got introduced to music just to begin with. When you were a kid, was it something that was playing in the house? Were there instruments? Was there just random singing like we do at our house?
Well, it's an interesting one because both my mum and my dad are not into music at all. So for me, it was actually my grandmother who had a big impact on my music and falling in love with music. So she used to like play the accordion, and the piano, and she tried to teach me growing up. She actually has a beautiful story. Back in Ireland, I suppose in those rural areas, they wouldn't have had a lot of money growing up, and we were working on pounds before we went to convert it to euro. And she was working one time in this part-time job. Again, like most musicians, she had like three jobs, and she was working in this convent. And every day she'd pass through this small little town, and there was this little furniture shop on the way to work. And she saw this beautiful mother of pearl accordion in the shop window, and it was £350 at the time. And this is the story she always used to tell me. She couldn't afford it. And this was 6 months going past this accordion all the time. The nuns came up to her one day and said, "Birdie, what's wrong with you? You're not yourself. You're a little bit down." And she says, "Well, I saw this beautiful accordion and I'll never be able to afford it." And they said, "Follow me." So they brought her up to this small little corridor, and up through the corridor, there's this small little pokey office. And the nun went in there, and you can imagine she had the big keys and the big chain. And she went in and she opened up this big press that was up from the top of the ceiling to the bottom of the floor. It was like a solid oak press. And when she opened up the doors, there was rolls and rolls of money. And so she took out 3 rolls and she said, "Birdie, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll loan you the £350, but you'll work here for 3 years with no pay." And so she worked for 3 years with no pay. So that was
Wow.
yeah. So I was exposed to that passion and to that love and dedication for music. I was exposed to that. So growing up, she always said to me, "Ciara, music owes me nothing. I owe my life to music." So yeah, she was a remarkable lady, and she really impacted me.
Okay, so when you were a kid, were you just singing with her? Were you guys, you said she tried to teach you what, piano or the accordion?
So she actually tried to teach me all of them. So the accordion mostly, and then piano as well. And I guess I kind of stumbled upon guitar in my teen years. I guess guitar is one of those instruments you can pick it up and you can bring it anywhere. And it's an amazing tool for songwriting. There's so much versatility with the guitar. So I kind of began teaching myself guitar and later went on and got lessons.
And how did you do that? Were you getting on YouTube, or were you just sitting down and playing?
My aunt actually gave me a book on guitar chords, and she actually gave me my first guitar as well. She had tried years ago to learn but didn't pick it up, but had since kind of bought guitars for her kids who didn't end up, continuing on with lessons. So she actually gave me my first guitar, and I began just trying to like figure out, okay, this must be a G, this must be an A. And then I went later on and took a few lessons. So that's how I got started in guitar. But I also had quite a traumatic accident that happened when I was 6 that I'm lucky to be alive and to be here. And that was actually the key moment when I had this realization, when you can't walk for 6 months, you dive into music. And that's what I did. I dived into music and all of that. So it's kind of, there's a few things happening simultaneously in this journey, but definitely my grandmother had that strong influence on me as well.
Okay, so you had an accident when you're 6. What happened, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so my dad had a quarry at the time, and there was these big, massive like gates. They're like steel gates that basically cover in rock. So when it's part of like a screening washer. Some other gates as well, crush rock. But in particular, these ones were at the back of our house field, and it was quite up, quite up, a good bit up the field. But being mischievous, I wanted to create a swing. I got this idea into my head, and mom and dad were like, "You have to wait till Santa brings you a swing at Christmas." And I was like, "Oh no, I want it now." Like most kids, I wanted everything now. So I had a hula hoop, and I used to watch a lot of High Five. Most people my age, that was the generation we grew up with. And in that High Five show, they have this big hula hoop as a swing. And so I was like, well, I have a hula hoop and I have a skipping rope, and there's these big fire steel gates I can see down at the field. What if I hook it up there and I'll like create a swing? So at 6 years of age, I escaped underneath the hedge, went up through the field, and I went to throw up the hula hoop, and it basically brought the whole thing down on myself. And it sliced through my leg, breaking the tibia, the fibula, like the major bones, and everything. So it was only skin keeping my leg together. And so I'm lying unconscious for, I think it must have been about 15, 20 minutes. And my granddad at the time, who's coming, like he's leaving the yard, I could see from a distance. Now he was deaf as well, so he couldn't hear. And I started screaming for him, like, "Granddad, Granddad." And he didn't hear me, but he always says to me, something made me turn around. So he turns around and comes running over, and he tries to lift it. Now you can imagine it's actually like machinery that brings these into the field. Like people can't lift these, they're very heavy. And so he tries to lift it, can't lift it. And then he just looks up and goes, "Good God, give me strength." And he just lifted it up and pulled me out. And that was probably a moment where I kind of realized, okay, like I believe everyone has a purpose and we're all here for a reason. But I felt like I had a
Right.
second chance as well, and I needed to take things a lot more serious. So at 6, then, because I couldn't walk for 6 months and I was in and out getting surgeries and I was on crutches and all sorts, I threw myself into music, and I was listening and watching music all day long and watching musicals and just dreaming at that point, really dreaming. I want to be on the stage and I want to do this for the rest of my life. So there's a few things happening there.
Okay, so what were the things that you were listening to at that point that were really inspiring you to want to be on stage? Was it a sound from an artist, or was it just the idea of performing and having that purpose?
Do you know I loved Judy Garland? So I loved all the old
Mm.
musicals. Like, at 6, I loved the black and white films. So I was watching all them. I used to love watching Shirley.
Meet Me in St. Louis, one of my
Oh my,
favorites.
yes, yes, yes. Bloody love it. Love it. And my mom as well introduced me to Shirley Temple, and I was watching
Yes.
I was watching all the kid, episodes of that of her growing up and stuff. And I just fell into the theatre. I loved the theatre and I felt at home in the theatre. So growing up, it was everything musical. If I could consume it, I loved it. And while my grandmother loved the trad side of things, I was also influenced to that. But I started to love classical and opera. So I went to train then at the age of 16 in classical and opera music singing. And that opened me up to another world. And then, just like most kids, I think, music is your therapy before it comes your form of something to lean on and something to express yourself with. So that's then when I was going through different experiences, I started writing.
Okay, so you go off to school, and I know you guys do school a little differently than we do. By the time you're 16, you're really kind of done if you choose to be done, but then you can go on. And that is also university, or no?
Good question. So in the UK, I think you're thinking of the GCSEs. So they have an option. I know in the UK at 16 they can leave and they go on to college, or else they can stay on. I think they pick 3 subjects, where in Ireland it's a little bit different. You're
Okay.
in school till you're like 18, and
Okay, like in the States.
yeah, and you only have like two stages. So you have primary school, and then you have secondary school, which is your high school. We
Okay.
don't have, like, I know you guys have middle school. We don't really have that. We just have.
Right. It's horrible. They really should abolish it. It's the most horrible thing for children. It really is. It's like that, it says middle, which is just a terrible word in general because nobody wants to be in the middle of anything, right?
Yeah.
And it's just such a difficult age. And then, you're just blocked in with all these awkward kids. So when you were 16, where did you go to get your classical training?
So I went to a place called the Academy of Music in Tullamore. So this is again outside of school, extracurricular. And I used to, it's so funny because looking back, because it was like 40 minutes from my hometown, I used to have to like jump on the train. And I bear in mind I had like 10 minutes to get from the school to the train station. And no matter if it was wind, if it was rain, if it was hailstones, if it was snow, I would run with the bag on my back to the train station to get there. And then once I got to Tullamore, I then would have like a 10-minute walk down from the train, 10-15 minute walk to the train station to the music school. So like I just loved it. Like I immersed myself in it.
You were in it. You were, whatever it takes, I am in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like I just loved it. Really loved it.
What do you feel like was the most valuable thing that you learned while you were there?
It's a great question. I feel like because they also put, like, I got into the Academy Chamber Choir as well at the time, which opened up a lot of like doors and opportunities. And I learned about the art of, like, I suppose singing in unison is one thing. Like I know in choir that it teaches you that anyway. But in order to, like, I suppose the technique, first of all, you're exposed to, but the beauty of sound. We were doing a lot of pieces that was like 15th, 16th, 17th century. So like it's all a
Mm.
cappella. It's all sight reading. You're not hearing a note to bring you in. So you have to come in, you're hearing, you actually start to hear the music in your head. Does that, I don't know if that makes sense. That make
Yes, it does.
So I'd be going through and you'd be learning and listening, and it opened me up to a whole new area of listening. Like you have to have real mindfulness in the practice of learning scores and, learning to blend with others and having the responsibility to know, right, if you're given a solo and you don't come in at the right exact syncopated beat or timing, you put everybody else off. So this amazing teamwork environment, which I loved. I really loved. And it was the first time I felt like a real sense of being part of something. And it was again beautiful. Like we got to go to Austria and we got to hear new choirs from all over the world. And I know to this date, I will never hear what I heard there ever again.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Choirs to me and choirs and orchestras, it's such a different experience. I mean, music can be experienced in so many different
Yeah.
ways, but to me, the purest is an a cappella choir or an orchestra where you're just it radiates through your body because like you said, there is a mindfulness that you need to have so that you can pick up on the little nuances as they're happening,
Yeah.
where you realize there's only three sopranos singing that top couple of notes,
Yeah.
or there's a bass line that's running that's really keeping it all together, but if you're not paying attention, and I would always be watching like who's doing which part, normally they're mixed together, but when you're young, you're like,
Yeah.
who's singing that? Who's doing that? And how do they sound like one voice? How does it sound like there's four people up there or eight people up there when there's 50 or 100? It kind of blows you away at how hard that is when you're doing it to make it sound that way, and then how much time you spend on getting that unison sounding, because it means that not everybody can be, you can't have a couple people being really nasally up in their nose and then some people being really open with the top of the roof of their mouth. If you have two people next to each other, it's like you're throwing that one voice sound off. So it's so important to be listening. So I really do relate to that a lot because I did choir in high school, and it was the only time that I've really ever done anything that was on like a team,
Yeah.
where we did it together, where it was this collaborative effort to make something that beautiful. After you finished school, what was the plan at that point?
I guess I started taking things really serious at 16. And so when I finished my leaving cert when I was just 18, I was like, that's it. I was like, I want to do music for the rest of my life. So I I was lucky at the time. I had someone recommend to look at music conferences abroad if you want to start taking things serious, so that you can learn and connect with people and network, because it is an industry of networking. It's all about connections, and I wanted to learn. And I think the older I get, the more I realize we know nothing, and there is so much to learn, and every day is a school day. So I set myself off to yeah. So I got to go to the south of France to a music conference called Medium, and I connected with many other musicians there and other people, and started to kind of learn. Okay, this is how copywriting works, and this is how sales works and marketing works. And I was learning a lot about music. And then I got to go to the NAM show in Anaheim in LA, and I learned a lot there as well. And again, I just tried to immerse myself in the world of music. And there's no better way, I think, than to put yourself where people are that know about this stuff. If you want to learn about it, I
Right.
think throw yourself into the middle of where it's happening. I think that's where you learn.
Okay, now I'm just going to say, for somebody who, I don't know how big Athlone is in Ireland, I'm imagining it's not the biggest metropolitan city.
No,
What makes a beautiful little Irish girl go, yeah, of course I can go to the south of France, and of course I'll go over to LA, and I'm going to start networking with people, and tell me about that. Oh, yeah, tell me about the copywriting. Yeah, tell me how that works. Yeah, yeah. No, hold on. No, I'm taking notes. Yeah, I got that. Like, what about your person is so bold to think that? Of course, you can travel the world and figure out how to make connections with other people. Because don't you think that a lot of people get kind of stuck there? So, what is it in you that said, either I have to or I can do this thing that seems a little bigger than me?
I think around 17 or 18, just because I was going through different experiences, and I always felt like that in school I didn't fit in. So I kind of threw myself into self-development, and I started reading books like by Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I started learning about manifestation, and I started learning about the power of mindset. And I guess the good way to say it is, like, the more you read these books, it's like a positive delusion. But like, it was what I needed.
It's so important,
Yeah,
though. You laugh, but it's so
so
important.
important. And I guess at 18, I sometimes I actually think I had more confidence when I was 18 than I have now. I feel like I have an inner confidence, where back then I didn't have the inner confidence. I had that out exterior confidence, where now I feel like it's flipped. Um, but at that point, I was like, sky's the limit. I was like, dream big. And I was very inspired by a lot of, Americans, people from the States, because you guys have the ability to think big. I think in Ireland, sometimes there is a slight mentality of, oh, you're going to do that, and what makes you think that you can do that? Um, it's oftentimes, I've talked to many musicians about this, but they go abroad and they make it abroad and come back to Ireland, and suddenly Ireland loved them, but they didn't encourage them when they were here before they left. So
What do you think that is? Because I hear that a lot. I hear that in England and some other countries where it's like, I never used to understand what um English people meant when they would talk about posh people. And I'm like, are you just talking about rich people? And no, no, no. What they mean are snobby people, people that think that they're better than other people. But that's a really fine line across the pond. Over here, it's like you really have to be a complete and total jackass for us to go, oh, you're a little big for your britches. You think a little too much of yourself. But over there, it's the slightest. Oh, you think you want to sing? Oh, you're singing in pubs now. Oh, you're going to be in a festival. Oh, big time. And it's
uh,
like, why is there this mentality that we shouldn't step outside of the bounds of our own town? Is it false humility? I mean, because it doesn't seem rooted in encouraging people to believe in themselves,
yeah,
because it's like, if you believe too much, they're going to knock you down a peg or two.
oh yeah, absolutely. Like, we're devils for that. I think a lot of it is masked in our humor. I think we hide a lot of criticism, whether it's self-criticism or criticism of others. The Irish people will deliver it in their humor, which I always think is it says a lot of, really, I think, if we look at the origins of it, and we think of, I think Irish people are really sensitive. I think we're more sensitive than we let on. And I think that, if you look at people that can crack jokes, and, that people that are writers, like, this country has a lot of history with writing. You think of Yeats and his impact, and many other writers as well, Seamus Heaney, and they've gone around the world. We are sensitive, and I think sometimes we project that out, either in a positive way, which is through the arts, or in a negative way, which is through sometimes that self-deprecative humor, which I hate. I think that is the worst. I'm a devil for it myself. Like, I had to really train myself out of it, because I think there's one aspect of, oh sure, if you can't laugh at yourself, then it's a sad state of affairs. That's kind of a belief, I think, in Ireland as well, that you should be able to have a laugh at yourself, not take everything too serious. But I think in this world, if you have a dream, or you have something you want to achieve, or a message you want to put out there, I think you have to take yourself serious, because who else is going to do it for you? I often say this.
It's you.
Yeah.
It's you. You can get all the followers that you want. You can cultivate a community and have fans out there. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you do not believe, you are delusional in your goals, nobody's going to push you, because nobody cares like you do. So I do want to commend you for pushing past this idea that it's not about, because I don't get this impression from you. I don't think that you think that you're the most special person in the world. Although you are a special person in the world, don't get me wrong, but that you feel like you have a purpose. There's a reason that you're here. You probably shouldn't have made it at 6. There's this vision that you got as a little girl. I mean, 6 years old is a little girl, to go, I want to do something bigger than me, because I don't know that I'm supposed to be here. I think that's commendable. And then it inspires other people. I think that's the chain reaction that we forget, that inspiring people to do and be more, or the most that they can personally be.
I think so. And
it inspires others.
Yeah. And I think in order to grow, you have to not be afraid to make mistakes. Like, I'm making mistakes all of the time. I think, people see a glimpse of success, which is a social media online world, but they don't perceive the 95% of behind the scenes of being up till 2:30 in the morning sending emails, of constantly thinking of ideas, of making loads of mistakes and double booking things, and internet's not working, and all sorts of things. They don't see all these little mistakes that are happening. And so they just see this perfect, polished piece that's ready to go, and it's gone out and it's done its thing. But they don't realize the behind the scenes, and the struggle and the doubt, and the keep going and keep pushing yourself. And I think in some ways that's what you have a lot of these great biographies by artists. That's what I love reading at the moment, actually, is I love reading a good biography about an artist, or someone that had a dream. And in every biography I read, it is the hero's journey. There is the pitfalls, there's the shit that happened. But if they didn't keep going, and if they didn't keep that belief in it's going to happen, because the moment you decide to give up, for a fact it's over then. It's not going to happen. But if you keep going, I believe you absolutely will happen. But it's not allowing that those fears to take over your life, I think.
It matters so much. I do feel I've talked about this a lot, kind of about my own journey as what makes me think, as a middle-aged mother of 4, that I can start doing a podcast where more than 30 people are ever going to listen to it. Well, I'm just that delusional. It's not because I think that somebody else couldn't do it. I just decided that I want to do it. What I think is really important is that we do, as people are going through their journey, their musical journey, that we get to hear the real story of what was behind, dreams. When you put that out, what led up to that. It's not just that you were able to put an album out in April of 2024 called Paint My Soul. It was that there's all this other stuff that happened before that, because people go, oh, well, she's beautiful, and she just has an angelic voice, and she just knows all the right people, and I don't know the people, and I don't know how to get it started. It's like, okay, well, let's get to that story. Let's get to how one, it's like, well, one of the things that we just discovered today is that you really took an interest in understanding yourself as a human being and what motivates us and what inspires us and how we can keep ourselves in a positive headspace. It's like you could start being Delulu, but if you don't have the backup
Yeah.
to go with, it's like, oh, there's a reason that I can be delusional is because my dreams are my own. I can decide those for myself.
Mhm.
And if I'm willing to put the work in, because it's not like you just go, I've manifested I'm going to be an amazing singer. And you never practice and you never go anywhere and you never do, like, that's not going to work, right? But having those two things aligned really, really matter.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this is really important. Okay, so you start making connections, you start traveling. What do you think was the biggest hurdle when you were going to places that you were not familiar with? And how did you make yourself, hi, how are you doing? Hi, what's your place in this world? Like, how did you make yourself do those things?
I think one thing I have to thank my mum for is that growing up in business background, like you were roped in, all your holidays you were spent in the shop. You're dealing with customers, you're learning people skills, communication skills. So going over, I guess, like naturally enough, going up to people, I wouldn't feel I'm shy, you know. Definitely when I was littler, but the more in the shop when you're talking to people, you're conversing. And it was actually, I set up a little coffee dock actually in my mum's shop when I had finished school. And that's actually how I saved up to pay for my flights to go over to the States at the time. So it was all these little skills that I was learning at the time, you know, didn't seem like back then they were a big thing to me. Now that they seem small, but back then it was like I was learning. And so when I went over there, I had that kind of, again, that exterior confidence. I still had to work on the interior confidence because I think the one maybe belief that is, I would say, that goes with a lot of mindset and development that we kind of only realize afterwards is, okay, I can do all this work. I can tell myself all the affirmations, but if I'm not really feeling it from the inside still, I've
Mm.
I've got there's something more I have to look at. So um I think I've gone off a little bit of a tangent here, but
But that's perfectly fine. I love a tangent.
yeah, but
You're just talking about how you got your confidence when you were going out to LA and how you made yourself approach people.
yes. And so I feel like, you know, when it came to developing the inner confidence, that's something where I kind of started to explore shadow work. And a lot of my music is inspired by a lot of the learnings that I came across. And I think diving into yourself, we are in a world, I think, now where we are kind of looking at that. I think we're finally in a place where we can, like my parents' generation, they were so busy trying to like earn a living to stay going, to survive. They didn't have,
Survive.
yeah, they didn't have all this time. Like, we do actually have a lot more time than we think. I know everyone's like, I don't have time to do this, this, and this, but actually, I feel like we actually do because we do have, you know, certain platforms now where work is a lot of work is getting done. You know, we have dishwashers now. We used to have to wash all our dishes by hands. That's an extra bit of like time saver. Washing
Right.
machines. We're not washing clothes anymore by hand. Like there actually has
Right.
been a lot of speeds and developments in time, but so we have that bit more, you know, leverage to be able to look into ourselves and, okay, who am I beyond this identity that I've created? So I had to strip everything back. So I took, I would say, kind of like during the pandemic, like most people, I took that kind of hiatus time. I was actually had a flower store in Ireland. Um, and so I was working through the flowers and I was doing a lot of, I pivoted into the singing for funerals industry. So that's what I was kind of doing throughout the pandemic. I wasn't singing anymore for weddings or events at that point with my own stuff. I was singing for funerals. And in that, I learned a certain amount of humility. I'd have beautiful experiences, where I'd be in the church and a butterfly would land on my microphone. And I had one time where the light just shone in through the window and I really did feel like there was a presence beside me because it just lit up the the railings. It just lit up the railings like that. I can't explain it. It was just you had to be there in that moment to feel what I felt. But it 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 made me realize there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye, and that we are just very very small in this bigger universe. And I think that it's time now that we focus on looking at how we're showing up in the world and are we showing up authentically. um so I really took time to dive into that and look at healing and um yeah, I think that the cliche is healing, but it is. I think it's self introspective, and how am I showing up in this world? Because we impact everybody around us, whether we realize it or not.
We do. Okay, so
Yeah.
when you had your flower shop and then you were doing funerals, and being in the church singing, um, was there an artist that was really speaking to you, and helping you in your self development?
Oh my God. Yeah, I was listening to so much music. I loved Rising. Oh my God, am I going to pronounce this right? You'll know if I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Rising Appalachia? Like, you know them after the
Yes, that's right.
Appalachia?
Yes,
So
yes, very good.
yeah, so they're like a duo, um, two female singers, and they've beautiful music. So I was listening to a lot of their music, which is very much so healing and empowerment, and very rooted in spirituality and nature. So I was listening to a lot of that. Joni Mitchell. I was falling in love with more of her stuff, and diving into her stuff, and um, Kate Bush as well. Loved Kate Bush's music. Maybe particularly Evanescence, though, really spoke to me. That Amy Lee, um, a lot of, she's real deep lyrics, like really deep lyrics. If you're in that place of like wanting depth, I found myself listening to a lot of Evanescence, and just again falling in love with that music that really speaks to your soul. I guess they just call it deep, deep kind of soulful music. It just resonates.
And were you writing at this time?
Yeah, yeah. So I was always writing, but it's like anything, when you're writing at 18, the whole idea I think with writing is the more you write, the better the quality becomes. I think at that point it was still very much so I feel this way and I feel that way. Where now I feel like when I'm writing, I always ask myself something before I begin, is that, you know, if the listener is listening to this, what are they going to pick up from this? Is there a message it leaves them with? Or does it make them question something? So I'm always thinking of how can I trigger something in the listener in either a positive light or in a deep sense. Or so that's my new kind of framework, where back then I was just very much so writing for me. But now it's changed a bit.
Okay, what was your hope once you started performing? Because I know you've done some festivals now.
Yeah.
What is your hope for your audience that they get to experience, or is there a feeling that you're trying to evoke
Yeah.
to your audience?
I feel like the future anyway of the music world is connection. Especially when we're coming into an age of AI. You can listen to everything now. Spotify music is very accessible. So we've skipped out all that process of buying an album, taking it home, reading it from left to right, flipping back and forth, like studying every inch of it, which I got, the tail end of that up till about the age of 11 or 12. And then that was it. That was the end of that. But I feel like because we don't have that now, the live sector is so important. So when I'm performing, I'm always wanting to connect with the audience, but also I want them to connect with each other. And I want to bring them out of the mind and into the heart space. So I'm always thinking about, again, just showing up, I think, as authentic as I can, and making it about everybody in the room. So it's not just everyone's coming to see Ciara. We're all coming to be together in this space and to embrace music and sound and feel something. There's a great artist called Face Soul, and I went to see him last year around this time of the year in Dublin, and everyone started singing together, and it was just beautiful. Like, the tears were rolling down my face, the tears was rolling down many other people's faces, and it didn't matter. Everyone was in that room of different religions and different backgrounds, and but everyone was feeling the same thing, which for me was just like mind blowing. That you go to something and you feel like you've had a real experience. And I think there's many great artists as well in the past that have done that. They've created this experience. So I'm still learning about what it is to create that, and what it's like to hold that as well, because I do believe it's a different energy when you're looking at something like that. So that's my mentally, that's what I'm trying to learn and instill.
I love that you said you want them to connect with each other, because I don't know that I really realized that. This is part of the reason why I do what I do, is because I became a fangirl for the first time in my life in my 40s. And going to concerts where I was surrounded by these people who were in love with the artist as much as I was. It was like an instant community. It like, we would look at each other and be like, there he is. Oh my God. I love this song. You love this song. Like we're all singing it together and we're all feeling it and we're all having this moment. And then, and you're leaving and you're like, well, should we sing the song again? Oh my God. Yeah, let's do it. And we're all it's so crazy. I've never experienced anything like that outside of being in church when I was a kid. That was a different experience.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my God, how crazy that we can have this kind of instant community, because not only are we connected with you as the artist, we're connected with your songs. And then therefore we are connected with each other because we're having this experience. And, I've come across people who's like, oh, my favorite song of that artist is this. And I'm like, oh, that's my favorite song from that artist. But the reason that we've come to that favorite are completely different reasons. And I think it's one of the things that is so powerful about music. The reason that you love something can be completely different, but you still have that connection
Mm.
because you're feeling so deeply about it. Have you ever struggled writing a song because you felt like this is too personal, I can't put this out, they'll see the inside of me? Have you ever felt like you've gone too far into being authentic, or do you think there is such a thing?
Ooh. I think if it's, again, I think there's a critical ear on things because, like my first album, to give you an example, there's 6 songs that never made it onto that album, and they're in a drawer, and that drawer will never be opened for the public. But I'll look at that and I'll revise it. So there's that side of things. Like, I'm highly critical, and I think you have to be to a certain amount. Now, if criticism of the self and your work is stopping you from creating, then you've gone past the point of the reason why. Like, obviously, as an artist, you're meant to create, and I'm writing all the time. I'm always inspired by things. I'm that person walking around and I have the phone here and I'm like, if someone says something, I'm writing it in, or I'm recording it, or there's a melody coming. For example, I know you mentioned Dreams earlier, and that's a song that's very personal to me. And even as I'm still performing it, it gets me because it comes from a very real place. I wrote a Christmas Day just gone, and it wasn't supposed to be on the album at all. But I had a dear friend of mine who is very sick, and it brought up a lot in me about, I think we're all under this illusion, I think, in our 20s, or up to the age of any age really, where we think, illness is something that strikes when you're old, and you don't possibly think you could get sick at a young age and really sick. So it's something that really scared me, and also kind of made me realize, right, I have to really do this while I can, and while I'm able and I'm healthy. And it's like, again, it's like that trigger, that scare I got when I was 6. I'm lucky to walk. And it was that kind of similar idea again. Similar. Sorry, I'm recovering from bronchitis, so I'm coughing in between.
Bless you.
But another friend I was also simultaneously having a conversation with, who is in her 70s, and she had a lot of regrets about her music. She worked really hard all her life in the medical industry, and she said to me, Ciara, I have saved so many lives that don't even know my name. And that stuck out to me, and I was like, that's a lyric. So I was thinking about her living with regrets, and then a young person that shouldn't be sick but is sick, and it just got me thinking about dreams. And so that lyric just came in, where do dreams go when the love dies? So a lot of people think when they're listening to this song, it's about 2 lovers and they break apart or something, but it's not at all. It's about that young girl that has her dreams and has had to put her whole life on hold to survive, to get well. And then you have somebody else who, had all the opportunities and just kind of let them pass her by. And she's still living with that little bit of hope that something's going to happen. So there's kind of a weaving in between them 2 journeys and my own, and a warning to self that, as it says in the bridge, 2 hands on the wheel. It's you who's in the driving seat. The world is at your feet. So it's about taking control of your own life and realizing that it starts with you, but it also stops with you. So you have to take those chances and live when you have life in you. So I know it gets a bit quite serious, but that's what actually that song is about. I haven't really, I introduce it with that on stage and things like that, but I haven't really talked about it on social media or anything like that, because I want people to obviously listen to the song and feel whatever they want to feel. And that's the other side of it. You hand over a song once you release it out into the world, and it means whatever it means to somebody else. But that's the energy that it came from. When I was singing that song, I was singing it with that intention that whoever hears this, that it triggers something in them, like a goal, like I need to do this now, I need to follow my dreams. Like, yeah, that's what that's about.
I think it's so cool, again, to be able to listen to a song and go, oh, this is what it means to me. And then you hear the artist say, sometimes, not always, but sometimes you hear them say, and you're like, that's what you were thinking? I didn't get that from that at all. And I don't, for me personally,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what they say it was. I was like, oh, no, no, no. I've already connected. I'm sorry. I've already created my own attachment to that song. And this is what it means to me. And it doesn't, I joke around. Harry Styles wrote the song Falling,
yeah,
but he wrote it for me. He doesn't
yeah.
know he wrote it for me.
What a feel.
I don't know how he wrote it for the moment that I experienced it, because he probably, well, he wrote it in the past, but for my future, you know what I mean? Like it's like you have these moments when you go, how did this song meet me in the exact place that I was? Like, well, I don't know how it happens. It's magic. Like I really think art in general, but especially music for me, is just magic. And I think that especially when things happen where you go, life is really fragile.
Yeah,
You know, there's a lot of death that has been happening in my life for the last year, especially, and it's been looming for several years. I have a brother-in-law who is got a terminal illness, and he's younger than me. And when that happened, that was
mm,
like the turning point of, oh, I thought because of my own personal trauma and sadness that my life was over and I was just going to cruise until I died. I was just going to have this really sad, boring existence and just kind of fake my way through the rest of my life, until this thing happened with my brother-in-law. And I was like, oh, well, he wouldn't say that there's nothing to live for. He would say there's everything to live for, because he is not going to get the opportunity to grow old that I feel like at least right now I currently have. I probably am older than he will ever be at this current moment. And having those reminders all the time, it was like, okay, what are we doing? What are we actively doing to seek joy, to experience joy, to lessen other people's suffering, to lessen the suffering of ourselves that we do to
yeah,
ourselves? How are we participating and being an artist, putting out your innermost thoughts in the way that you did with dreams is a touchstone for other people to tap into, whether it's today or 6 months from now or 5 years from now. You've created this moment in time where people can connect with this music. So first of all, thank you for doing that and being willing to share a part of your person with us. It is so valuable and so important, and I love it so much. Okay. Um, I don't mean to cut that so short and abruptly. That was like, okay, and that's enough of that. I don't want to start crying and being weird. Um, but I do feel like it's it's so valuable and so important, and that's why I do this.
I loved what you said about death, because it is oftentimes when we're faced with something like that that I think it shows our strength, but also it it teaches us so much. Because something like life, again, just to throw back at my funeral um experience with music, is that it's a celebration of life when someone passes, as well as it's a hard occasion for the people that are grieving, but it's also a celebration of their life. And it's oftentimes where people come together. You see every family member come when someone passes away. And it's those conversations afterwards that are had, I think, are the most healing for most people that are there. So, when they're sitting around having tea after the funeral and they're talking about the shared memories and the love, you realize the impact that we have on a person's life, and indeed that we have on people's lives, especially our family members and stuff. So it's interesting what you said. I can imagine as well what that brings up for you.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's just, you just don't realize.
Mm.
And I think it happens a lot where you go, oh, okay, that's okay. So this is really fragile. And I'm taking this for granted. I'm taking for granted that I'm sitting and I'm moving all of my fingers and I can wiggle my toes and I can stand up from where I'm sitting and I can walk down the hallway and I can make myself some food and I can get in the car and I can drive down the road, or I can pick up the phone and I can talk to a friend, and that friend is going to be willing to hear the things that I have to say about my heartbreak or about my sadness or about my worries about the future. Like, I'm so blessed. I have so much going for me, but I think that, daily life gets in the way sometimes. And again, that's why when music comes in and you go, "Oh," you know, where it's a thing that you hadn't thought of and you're like, "Oh, that line. Oh, I've got to write that down. I've never even thought of it that way. I never even thought about, you know, um, I get the feeling that you'll never need me again." That's the line out of Falling. I sat there and that was exactly what I was struggling with. I had a partner for 13 years and everything fell apart. And I was like, and that was the sorrow. Like, I'm never going to be your person again. And that for a very long time was really devastating. Until now, it's like, I mean, thank God. I don't have to be your person anymore. But there was that sorrow.
It accesses the subconscious. And it's oftentimes,
Yes.
like you could spend, and I know I've talked to therapists about this, like that you could spend weeks, years in therapy, and then you hear this one song that somehow has unlocked the piece that was of the puzzle that was missing. And it's just like that epiphany moment. And it's oftentimes as well, you talk to people and like, you like if I asked you now, your like the song that you remember from maybe when you're 16 in your bedroom singing it, like if there's a song that brings you back to when you were 16, I bet you can tell me is
Right.
that takes you back in a time capsule and you remember what it is to be that 16-year-old going around with a hairbrush singing in the mirror. So yeah, you're right.
And what else can you say? I mean, maybe people feel that way about books. I imagine there are people that go, "Oh, I remember when I was reading, did whatever," but nothing touches like music does. I'm like, you could tell me, I did the same question. I'm actually editing this episode where I asked him that. I was like, "Tell me the song that was playing at your wedding." Like, tell the song that was playing, not at my wedding. Well, it was Sting, but it was a song that had a really long, it was off of his Mercury Falling album. And it had a very long intro. I don't think it was Hung My Head, but it had a really long intro. And I forgot to tell the guy that was queuing up the music for our first dance to cut out the intro because it was literally like a minute and a half. So we're just standing there, just kind of looking at it, but I will never, every time I hear that song, if I'm listening to that album, I go, man, I just remember standing in that room with my brand new husband at 20, I was 20 years old and like kind of swaying and feeling so awkward. And I was like, I've ruined this song. Everybody's thinking I'm insane. Why did you pick this? And I was like, no, it gets good, but just takes a minute and 35 to get there. But yes, music can take you back to a second. Janet Jackson, That's the Way Love Goes. We had a giant boom box, the big giant with the speakers on the sides that you could detach and separate, right? But it had 18 D batteries in it, so it was about 35 pounds for us to take it on the go. And we put it in the back of my dad's Ford Fairmont that had a door that didn't open, so you had to slide in through the window with the window down. And we're riding down the street singing "That's the Way Love Goes" by Janet Jackson. Yeah,
I love it.
and that was me at 17.
See, I can picture that. I can picture the hair blowing in the wind and the like. Amazing.
And it's loud and people are like, what's going on? And you had no idea that one of us had our hand so that when we stopped that we wouldn't even go catapulting to the front and accidentally kill us or take out the windshield. Yeah, it was dangerous times, but it was good times. But that's the beauty of music. It's so great. It's so great.
It's just, it makes me think of atmosphere. It's funny. I have just as you were saying all that, I had a flashback of my grandmother playing accordion in the field one time, and all the cows came down to watch the whole thing. It was amazing. Like animals as well, how they interact with music. Like it's just
because it's the most amazing thing ever.
Mm.
I want to say that plants and trees react to it. I want to say that they're going to be like the sun. They're like, oh, there's something vibrating and happening. Let's be closer to it. I could be wrong. I may have just made that up.
No, I love that. It makes sense. Sometimes we go out and we just sing to the trees. It feels good.
Yeah.
It just feels good.
It does.
Yeah.
Nature and music. No, there's nothing better. There's nothing better. Okay, so let's go into, I'm going to ask you a little bit more about what the plan is for the future, but let's go into my 7 rapid fire questions. Okay, so my first question is, what would be your ideal vacation or holiday? And it could be a place that you go, or it could be things that you could do, or it could be both.
Okay, well, at the moment, just as of yesterday, myself and another friend of mine have organized a retreat for everybody to Portugal in a place called Porto. And we're going to do like music with people. She's going to do sound baths, yoga, like all like just wellness. And yeah, we're going to have like, again, hopefully 10 to 15 people, but again, just give them an experience. And also it's like beautiful scenery. We're going to be going to the lake, to the river, to the sea. And like, just like loads of fun activities, basically we have planned. Again, activating people's voices. So for me, I love when I can go to a place and I'm surrounded by people and we can have an experience. A bit like what I said earlier, it's all about experiences together. So I'm looking forward. That's happening on the 2nd week of June. So that'd be I'm looking forward to that. That's my dream.
Okay, I'm going to have you come to Italy in September of 2026 because I'm turning 50 that year and I want to have a really cool experience. So let's see how many people that we can get to come and we'll do the same thing. That sounds amazing.
I'm down. We'll play the hits.
That sounds amazing. I would lose it. We talked about my roommate and I have talked about the sound bath thing. I was like, we need to do more things where like music is like happening to us. Okay. Number 2, what is your most favorite concert experience you've ever had? And let's make this another person that inspires you, not your personal, but then a concert that you'd like to attend with an artist that you haven't never seen before.
So one concert I have attended? Is it that?
Yes, one that you have attended that really what was life-changing or wonderful or lovely about it?
It would probably be, again, 15. I was a big Taylor Swift fan in my teen years. And I went to see the 1989 World Tour in Dublin.
That's my favorite album.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I got the Taylor's version. I supported her getting her music back, and I have the vinyl. It's by my piano because I just love. Those are fun songs.
There you go. So
what a fun concert.
And I was that person that literally, I think everyone at this point imagines that at one point that they're looking at Taylor and that she's looking back at them, and so I started all crying, and so yeah, and I had brought.
It's such a magical experience that nobody really can. Sometimes I feel like boys don't understand. Some boys do, but a lot of boys don't seem to understand that magical experience when they look at you. I had one thing. I was at a concert and I thought that they didn't look at me until I looked at the video back, and I was like, "Well, he was looking at my phone probably, which was over my head. But whatever, I have it and I can look at it, and he's looking at me, and we're looking at each other, and it's magic. So I get that." That's a magical. Okay, who would you like to see? Who's on your list?
Oh my gosh. Now Stevie Nicks is coming to Dublin. Well, couldn't get tickets for her. I was raging. Everything sold out like that. So probably would be Stevie Nicks. I'd love to see her.
If you go to the box office, is it possible to get tickets? Because here in the States, if you wait until the day of and you go stand in line at the box office, there's always a few tickets.
Would it help if
is that possible?
Oh my God, I'd love to go see Stevie Nicks. So
Yeah, I haven't seen her yet either.
she's just a powerhouse, and I believe this is her last time going on tour. So like, it's a once in a lifetime thing now to get a ticket to this. So I'll keep manifesting it. Maybe it'll happen.
Yes, keep manifesting. It could happen. Somebody will reach out to you. We're going to put this out. This is going to be out in the world. We're going to say, for those of you that have an extra Stevie Nicks tickets and you would like Ciara to come with you because she's a delight and a wonder, please reach out to her on her socials and invite her. She would love to be your plus one. Done and done.
Yeah.
As it's happened to me. I'm just saying. Tell me a overrated and underrated, and when I say holiday, I don't mean vacation. I mean like national holiday. A holiday that is overrated and an underrated holiday. And I don't know if Ireland has a lot of different holidays from us. I'm sure you have a fair amount, but
Well, we have.
St. Patty's Day is not overrated, right?
Do you know what? This is going to be controversial. This is controversial. I am all for St. Bridget's Day now, because we have finally, this year, we had our first St. Bridget's Day parade in Dublin. And I was very privileged and lucky to have been asked to dress up as Bridget and to represent. So that was amazing for me. But I believe it's time for I feel like there's a feminine rising happening at the moment, of where like do you know what's insane when you think about it, right? So you have this goddess or saint. She's so many different depictions that has gone all around the world and survived to this day, that everybody knows about this woman and what she represented. I just think there's something amazing about that, and why not have a day where we're celebrating what it is to be a woman and what it means. And I think women are just amazing. Yes. So I'm all on for celebrating Bridget's Day. We also now are having a Sheila na Gig Day, which is the 18th. Do you know Sheila na Gig?
I do not.
Well,
educate us.
You will after today. I know you're going to after this. I know you'll dive into it, but it's yes. I won't get into too much of it, but I'll send you some links after. But yeah, it's time to reclaim that. Like, for example, there was a Sheila na Gig monument that was from Ireland that got taken away to the UK. Basically, someone sold it or something happened. There has been a petition that has been successful to get the Sheila na Gig back to Ireland, because it caused that much uproar about this small monument. So there's again, there's been a lot of suppression, I think, of our real Irish history, especially with our famine / genocide. There's been a lot of kind of, adaptations. I always struggle with that word, readaptations. I don't know if that's a word, but anyway, here we are, of what really happened in Ireland. But we have a lot of culture and a lot of history that's been buried, that goes back to pre-Christian times. So that's all coming out now. And just to touch as well back on Bridget as well, we have other goddesses like Macha, we have Queen Maeve, that have they're warrior women. So they're all getting days finally being celebrated. And I think, yeah, it's time. So if that's so, maybe.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, because you know what's funny?
Warrior woman.
Yeah, like St. Patrick's Day as well actually didn't originate. I was looking at this. There was something that I could be slightly incorrect in my fact around this now, but I was looking at this recently, that it was brought over from Rome and brought to Ireland, brought over from Italy, should I say, and planted in Ireland, the whole St. Patrick's thing. So there's
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so there's mixed reactions of the Irish people. I think we love the idea of celebrating what it is to be Irish. I love that part. I love that aspect.
Right.
But the colonization of Ireland is something that's quite difficult still, I think, for a lot of Irish people, and especially the younger generations growing up and getting triggered when you're looking at things happening in the world and you're saying, oh, that happened to us as well. So there's a lot happening at the moment of a resurgence of of diving into what our real history is and how we're represented around the world. Because, for example, like, I know Ireland, there's a big drinking culture. My family and I don't drink at all. I've never even tasted alcohol. But if you go abroad, there's this assumption because you're Irish, you're a big drinker.
Right.
So
big Niall Horan for that. Yeah, he is definitely doing that stereotype, running around with his pints of Guinness.
This is it. And
it's Niall's fault.
So yeah, he's not too far from Athlone, actually. Mullingar's only.
I know, I saw that. I was like, you're not too far from Mullingar.
No.
Oh, the One Direction fans will be thrilled to find this out.
That's it. So, and
It's like, and I think one of the things that I realized when I came when to England, and we did I did Spain and Portugal and Italy as well. And it was like, the people don't travel as much as I would if I lived in England or France or Italy, or I would be traveling all of the time. Like I would be hopping over to London for, of course,
You're
for what, for anything, I don't know. And, but that's because, for us in the States, Georgia is, I want to say, one and a half times, you take Georgia, one and a half times is the size of England. That's just my state.
See, my brain,
That's just my state.
like my brain can't
So it's
visualize that size. That's
right. And so that's why people think, well, why would you do all this traveling? I'm like, I travel, it takes me an hour and 15 to an hour and a half to travel to my job. I only go there on Tuesdays and Wednesdays because I work from home the rest of the days, but it takes me an hour and a half to drive there. So an hour and a half in Atlanta specifically is like, it's not great, but it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
And then to get to the beach, it takes 4 hours. That's really close because the majority of the people who live in the Midwest, I mean, you're talking 2 days of travel for them to get to a beach.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
So I'm so close to a beach because I'm 4 hours away.
No,
And you guys are like, I can't go to France. That's crazy.
Like the beach, say if I go to Galway, it's 40 minutes from where I am. Like that is an effort for us to think about. Like that's a day trip.
That's what I'm saying. And you guys say that, and I'm like, what is going on here? Get me in the car and I will drive you everywhere. We will do all of Ireland in a day. Let's whip it around.
Realistically, right, to go from the east of Ireland to the west, only actually, and if you were to go to the right to the edges, really it's only 3 hours of a width.
Hello.
And that is the whole width of the country. Now, if you want to go from to the south, that's probably 6 hours. But that's the whole length of the country.
I'm telling you, we could do this in a weekend. We can hit all the major cities in Ireland in a weekend if you have me as the driver. That's all I'm saying. I'm down. I'm not going to get tired. I don't know what you guys are going to do. Maybe be crying about it, but I'm ready. I just think it's insane. But that's the difference. We're huge. Like people don't realize, like when people were complaining, oh, you're taking our tickets. I was like, you don't understand. It's like, yes, my artist came to the States, but the only shows that are close to me. So say I'm in Atlanta. Okay. So we have an Atlanta show, and then the next closest would be Nashville. Nashville's 4 hours away. That's a state that is connected to us.
That's my dream.
So that's
to go to Nashville.
Oh, come on. I'll meet you there. It's a beautiful, like I'll go on the weekends. Like my friend, her mom lives there, and we went to, what was the festival? I don't know. Hozier was there.
You like Hozier?
Oh my God.
Everyone loves it. I've never come across anyone that went, no, I'm not a big fan. No, everyone's like, yeah, love his music. Like
listen, there was something otherworldly. And it was pouring rain. We're all standing outside and just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And it's pouring down rain. And he said, thank you for the welcome. But with the weather, I felt very at home. And we all giggled and loved that, right? Anyway, but his band, the musicianship that he is traveling around. I was like, first of all, you should be thanking your lucky stars that these are the people that you work with. This is insane because he's crazy talented. Yeah. But then you add the musicians that are in his band, and it was mind blowing. I have to see him in a tighter space. I want to see him in something enclosed just so that I can really immerse myself in it. But yeah, I was sold. I mean, I've heard his stuff. I hadn't heard a lot of it. I just did the stuff that I know that it's really popular.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing Hozier's Yell right now. The video. I did one myself. I'm not gonna lie. It's a trend. You got to do it. But hearing it live was, it was mind blowing. It was so incredible. But he was there. And then who else did we see? Steven Sanchez. If you don't know who Steven Sanchez is, he is delicious and delightful. He's the size of a string bean. So he's a little fella, but he sounds kind of like if you took Elvis and some other beautiful crooner, a Tony Bennett, a Frank Sinatra, and you kind of mix those two things and put it in a 22-year-old's body. I don't know if that's how old he is, but I know he's really young. And he has the charisma of gods and just runs around stage and wild and crazy. And he's so talented. That was part of the reason why I saw him. So look up Steven Sanchez. He is a delight. But he's a newer artist.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's just a lot of cool. It was a festival that was there, but that's what we went for the weekend, drove up on Friday and came back on Sunday for the 4 hours. And you girls are like, I can't go 40 minutes to Galway. Bless it.
So funny.
You need to hire me as a driver. I will hire you as my sound bath, Flower Crown musical experience, and then you can hire me as your driver, and I'll whip you around. It'll be fun. Okay. Number 4, we got off topic. Number 4, what is a weird food combo? And it may be weird to us if it's Irish, but what's a weird food combo that you enjoy that you think other people would be like, you do what?
There's a few of these.
Oh, good.
Right. Okay. Do you know the dates?
Yes.
So obviously, instead of stuffing the date with peanut butter, which most people do, I put tahini paste in it.
Oh.
It's unbelievable. Like,
okay, I've been wanting to try something with the dates, and I have tahini.
Right. Well, you need to, put the tahini in. It's a marriage. It's a successful marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Would it be good if we drizzled chocolate on top, or is that too much?
Well, weirdly enough, I'm actually allergic to chocolate, so I can't have chocolate. But you know what's lovely is a little bit of sea salt. Yeah, it's like salted caramel.
Okay, I gotta try that. I've got to get me some dates. I've seen so many different recipes of all the different things, and I'm like, I'm missing out on life. Okay, what is the kindest thing that anyone has ever said or done for you?
Oh my God. I've been blessed. There's some beautiful people that have crossed my path. Well, recently I had bronchitis, and one of my good friends, every single day dropped over a little care package and left it outside my door with like little essentials. And that was every day. So for me, that is probably one of the most kind ones. And then probably another one I'll mention as well. My friend Mary surprised me with a trip to the UK. And I had just come back from a holiday that I didn't enjoy, and I was really down about it because obviously I was looking so forward to this holiday. And then she surprised me with this beautiful trip. And it was one of those trips where it was totally unplanned and had no like specifics, and it just turned into magic day by day. There was just magical things happening. So it was one of those unexpected, beautiful trips that when when you're just like really low about something, and then it's just like something lifts you up, and you're like, oh my God, this is like magic. So yeah, that would probably be one of the. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. What's a personality pet peeve? Something that people do that really gives you the ick?
Biting nails. Can't stand people biting their nails. It's just,
there's a lot of shame associated with that as well.
Is there?
Maybe because of people like you.
Like my dad has his nail. I remember when I was little, when I went into the chemist and I got this like stuff that you like put on the nails and like makes a really bad taste in your mouth. So when he was asleep, I went and like put it whatever. It didn't work. He still biting his nails. Like,
that's hilarious. You were like, I'm gonna fix you. You're gonna stop this gross habit.
Didn't work.
My dad did it my whole entire life, and he would have times where he would be trying so hard, and then I had partner that did it, and I was just like, just okay, I know you're hurting yourself and it is kind of icky that you were putting it in your mouth, but like, just let it go. I feel bad that you feel bad. But I love that though. I mean, everybody's got a thing. What are your words to live by?
Okay. What's for
And don't go too deep with this. I would say think about like what is it that you're saying to yourself all the time right now?
just what's for you won't pass you. Yeah. I try to keep that light, so I won't I think it's a self-explanatory one. What's for you won't pass you by. I love that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. Okay. If I was to bring a song to someone and said, "This is Ciara Lawless. This is if you listen to this, you're going to understand who she is as an artist." What song would that be?
Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell. Or does it have to be my own, do you mean? Or is it some
It can be both. Let it be both because I like that.
well, that would be if it wasn't mine, that would be that one. Because
Okay.
it's a timeless song. Like she wrote it when she was 24 and then she sang it, remember that time when she was 54? And it was just like a mind blowing thing of where the song resonated even deeper at that age. So it's a timeless song for me, that one. But then out of my own, I would say it would be everybody seems to love my "I Am Your Healer" song. That's the one everyone always refers to. So I think that one because it's inspired by.
Is that the one that resonates the most with you with yourself?
I feel
Because sometimes it's different. Sometimes it's not the most popular one. Sometimes it's one that just really resonates with you.
I think maybe I think "I Am Your Healer" because it talks about like in the battle against your ego, don't throw it all away. And I think we're always in that kind of sometimes that battle against our ego. So I think it's a song that reminds me to step forward as my best self when I can. So yeah, I think that's
I like that. Yes, yes. Okay. And also, what do we have coming up for you? What's the plan for 2025?
So for 2025, I'm dropping my second album in May. Yes, I'm very excited. It's called Divine Intervention, and I'm hoping that for people it might be a little bit of an intervention. And then I am announcing a European tour and a UK tour. So what I'm hoping now, 2026, I'd love to come to the States again. So that's like hopefully down the line we'll manifest that now this year for next year.
Yes.
I'd love that. So so that's what I'm kind of working on that. Just releasing more music and again performing and just to keep making music. I actually just was in the studio working on album 3 as well. So my goal is an album a year. So I just keep going towards that. And hopefully my intention with that is obviously the more experience in the studio, the more I give myself projects to write for. I just believe hopefully the quality, and I'll just keep improving and learning more and just keep working on my skill as a songwriter. So that's my plan.
I love it. Well, I have to thank you so much for your time today. And I hope that as you move forward in the world, that you continue on your self-discovery journey, that you're bringing your most authentic self to your fans, to your community, to the people who support you, and that you continuously find yourself in spaces where it is all about connection and all about love, and that you're always reminded how fragile life is, because we need that reminder in order to keep ourselves connected. And I just want to thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on your wonderful podcast. Thank you so much. It's been amazing to chat to you as well, Heather.
So great. All right. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.